Hi there, this is one of a number of videos relating to the Hotpoint FDW60 dishwasher, which will involve dismantling and component replacement. I'll also be covering some of the error codes associated with this model during the relevant videos. Before you start work on any domestic appliance, make sure it's turned off from the mains power supply first. In this video I'll be concentrating on the heater, which is just one of the possible reasons for the flashing 5th and 7th neons on the console panel. The layout of this model is similar to that of the Hotpoint SDW60 and DWT10, as well as a number of other models made by Hotpoint, Creda, Indesit and Ariston. Should the 5th and 7th neons start to flash after the machine's been working for a short time, the manual says that one of the possible causes is the heater. Now this can be because the heater is faulty or there is a defective or loose wiring connection. If you need further information about what different error codes mean, visit www.selfix-uk.co.uk and click on the error codes. Before you start work, remove the outlet hose from the standpipe if it's accessible and lower it into a washing up bowl. This will empty any water in it. It will also empty some of the water in the sump as well. You would also be advised to remove the filters and soak up any remaining water in the sump with a sponge. To gain access to the heater, you'll need to remove the base plate, which means turning the machine on its back or side, and it would be advisable to lay it on something like a sheet or old towel to prevent scratching it. Plus you may still get some water come out, and having a towel there will soak it up. Remove the 2 screws holding the kick panel on. Lift it and it will come free. This will give you access to the 3 screws on the front of the base plate. There's another 3 at the rear of the base plate as well. When they've all been taken out, it can be removed, but be careful because it's still attached by 2 wires that are connecting to the float switch. This switch also has its own error code indicator, which is just the 4th neon flashing, but that's another video. It may not seem obvious at first, but there are 3 terminals on this switch and only 2 wires, so make a note of where they fit or take a photo so they go back on the correct ones. It's not absolutely necessary to remove the pump before the heater, but I find it so much easier to work with it out of the way, and that's why I've taken it off. There's another video in this set relating to the pump and its associated error code. Undo the locking screw on the outer flange of the pump and twist the whole thing anti-clockwise. This will uncouple the bayonet tags holding the pump to the sump assembly and it will come free. Watch out for this rubber seal, or it may fall out without you seeing it. Hold the pump over a bowl or bucket and remove the clamp on the outlet hose. This way, if there's any water left in the hose, it will go into the container rather than all over you or the floor. The pump is fitted with a non-return flap, and water in the hose will stay there rather than run back into the pump housing. So although there won't be any water when you remove the pump, there is still a possibility of water being in the hose. Unhook the heater support arm from the sump housing and unscrew the Jubilee clip on the circulation pump. If the machine has never been worked on before, you will probably have the clamp rings that were fitted with the factory, in which case it may be necessary to lever the hose off, unless you can get to it easily. These clips are not hard to remove, just awkward to get to in some cases. With the accessible ones, you just need to insert a screwdriver blade into the opening and turn. They say these clips can be refitted if they're clamped together with a pair of wire snips, but I find a Jubilee clip so much easier to work with. Don't be too heavy-handed when it comes to levering the hose off, or you may inadvertently damage it. With the heater out, you've got easy access to the wiring plug and the earth terminal. These continuity tests can be carried out with the heater in place, but for demonstration purposes I've done it like this. As you can see, I'm getting a reading across all the terminals, so the heater's okay. These units are not serviceable, so if the heater is blown, then a new one will need to be fitted. There's a lip on the back of this hose to prevent the heater or clip from hitting on the cabinet, but it also makes it hard to remove or refit a new clip. If you're using the old one, then fine, but if not, you need to be aware of it. Don't use any type of lubricant to help with the fitting of the hoses, because it may prevent the clips from holding them in place once the machine starts to work. If you really can't get the hoses to fit, then use a drop of water to wet the inside edge. Just take a moment to make sure the screws on the Jubilee clips are facing outward when you put them on, or you'll have to take it apart again to refit them. And although you have to do them up tight, don't overdo it or you could damage the hoses. If you're doing a repair job you've never done before, then take note of how things come apart, even if it means doing a sketch or taking a photo. Don't just rush in and rip everything out or undo all the screws you can see, because you'll be in trouble when it comes to refitting them all. In a case like this, slow is the quickest and safest way to complete the job. Don't forget to refit the earth wire at the rear of the heater, if you hadn't already done so, and then connect the wiring plug. The hose support just slots into the sump housing, and although it looks as though it just keeps the hoses apart, it must be replaced, because when the machine is upright, the heater and hoses rely on it for support. Before you refit the discharge pump, check this seal is in good condition and sight it either inside the pump or on the centre section of the sump. These 3 bayonet connections on the pump locate into their counterparts on the sump, and when twisted clockwise form a tight joint. Replace the screw in the flange to hold it in place. There's no need to worry about which way round the wiring plug fits, because it only goes in one way. When you attach the outlet hose, make sure it's fully on and the clamp ring is central, or you may get a small leak. Just remains to put the base back on once you've reconnected the float switch. Check with your previously made notes as to where the connecting plug goes. Then you can refit the kick panel, stand the machine up, and the job's done.